Good afternoon, students. So this is going to be the second half. I'm going to go over the second half of English 105 and what you need to do for your week 4, week 5, 6, 7, and 8 assignments, or your week 5 assignments anyway. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen so I can go over how you do your week 5 and 6 and 7 and so on assignments. So here goes the sharing of the screen, if it works. Alright, so I will go over the week 4 lecture. So for your week 4 and week 5, you have the annotated bibliography, part 3 to do. And so here you have basically what you do for your annotated bibliography is that you write the author's last name, author's first name, date, then you write the article name in italics, then you write the publication or website name, then you write the day you retrieved the website, and then the web address. Then you write a summary of what you wrote about, of what this article is about. So here you would say, this article talks about how Americans are obese, and it shows the benefits of dieting and exercise to lose weight. So basically you write your references list and then you write a summary of what each article is about. So the reason why we have an annotated bibliography is if we're writing a long research paper and we want to keep track of our sources, that's how we do it. So that way when we look at the summary, we instantly remember, oh yeah, that's what that article was about, and then you can remember where to put that in-text citation in your body paragraph. So that's the purpose of an annotated bibliography. So some researchers, like when I did my master's, I had like 88 pages, hundreds of resources. And so I couldn't remember all the different articles I read. So by keeping an annotated bibliography, then by looking at the summaries that I wrote, then I was able to remember what my articles were about. So for your part 3, you're going to have 4 credible sources. 2 of them is going to be peer-reviewed sources, and 2 of them are going to be scholarly sources. And all 4 of them have to be in annotated bibliography format. Then you're going to write your answer the questions in which you're going to put in why you chose this topic, and then every time you use a numerical data, you have to use an in-text citation. And if you use a direct quote, you have to have quotation marks, and then you have to use the author, the date, and the page number. So that's going to be your part 3 assignment. Okay, so you need to have 4 sources. You have to have 2 peer-reviewed sources, 2 scholarly sources. And you can find these scholarly and peer-reviewed sources at Google Scholar or on the LAPU online library. Do not use Wikipedia because anyone can upload anything to Wikipedia. And so if you want to find peer-reviewed articles on Google Scholar, just type in your topic, then type in the words peer review, and then press submit, and then you will get all the peer-reviewed articles. So that's basic. Don't use regular Google. If you use regular Google, then you'll get a mixture of hits. Then you have to use Kapow in order to tell whether or not it's a credible source, you see. So Google Scholar, you don't have to use Kapow because Google Scholar takes its sources from the library databases of the online library. So Google Scholar and the LAPU online library is the same. But the LAPU online library has a lot more articles that you get the full articles. Sometimes on Google Scholar you only get partial access to the articles. But for your purposes, for your annotated bibliography, you can use either Google Scholar or your LAPU online library. And then in week 5, you're going to have 2 forums. One forum is due on Thursday, the first post is due on Thursday, and the other forum is going to be a practice forum, and that forum is due on Monday. And so let's do the week 5 forum that's due on Thursday first. So in the week 5 forum that's due on Thursday, you will write a counter-argument and rebuttal paragraph. A counter-argument paragraph talks about how the other side thinks. A rebuttal paragraph is how you go back to your argument and rebut the other side. So you're going to, for your week 5 forum, you're going to have something, you're going to choose a topic from the procon.org website, and you're going to write research question, for instance. Should students wear school uniforms at school? And then you're going to take a position. So are you for or against school uniforms at school? You have to decide which side you are on. Then you're going to, in your thesis statement, you take a position and you write down exactly what side you're on and what reasons you are for that side. Because when we write an argumentative essay, we want to, just like with a persuasive essay, we want to convince the reader of our point of view. And in order for our essay to be objective and biased, we write both a counter-argument paragraph where we talk about the other side, and then we write a rebuttal paragraph where we rebut what the other side says. So here is an example. Okay, so here in this thesis, I say that I am for school uniforms. So I say school uniforms are good for students because school uniforms allow students to focus on education, not clothes. School uniforms save parents money from having to buy expensive clothes, and school uniforms enhance school pride and unity. So those are the 3 reasons why I think that school uniforms are good for students. And in many other countries, in Europe and in Asia, it is custom, traditional for students to wear school uniforms to school. So it's international. So when we write our counter-argument, remember, when we write our counter-argument paragraph, we write about what the other side thinks. So here, some sentence starters for your counter-argument paragraph. Some critics assert, many believe that, it has been argued that, opponents argue that, other people think that, advocates for think that, supporters think that, it is true that, it is suggested that, it is argued that. So what if you're stuck and you can't think of what to write? So what you're going to do is when you go to the procon.org website, okay, when you go to the procon.org website, it's going to give you a list of pros and cons, okay, of school uniforms. So I'm for school uniforms. So school uniforms deter crime and increase students. This will already be listed in the Procon website, okay? So you're going to choose 3 of these, and I'm already for school uniforms. So when we write our counter-argument paragraph, we're going to go against, I'm going to use what the other side thinks. The other side, they don't like school uniforms because the other side thinks, or many people think, that, and so here we have remember I went over the sentence starters. How do we write about the other side? And so in this case, the other side is the con, okay? So I'm people who are against school uniforms, since I'm for school uniforms. So many people think that school uniforms restrict students' freedom of expression. Opponents of school uniforms think that school uniforms promote conformity over individuality. Others think that school uniforms do not stop bullying and may increase violent attacks. Yet more people, or it is easy to believe, that school uniforms do not improve attendance, academic preparedness, or exam results. It is easy to believe that the key findings used to tout the benefits of uniforms are questionable. In addition, school uniforms emphasize the socio-economic divisions they are supposed to eliminate. So you could use all of this, of what's on the other side, in your counter-argument paragraph. It's that easy, okay? So you just take whatever the other side is thinking, and then you use these sentence starters, okay? Some critics argue, many believe. So I would say, for instance, some critics argue school uniforms restrict students' freedom of expression. And then I would say, some people think, other people think. Okay, let's use those. Okay, some people think school uniforms promote conformity. Other people think school uniforms do not stop bullying and may increase. You get the idea, right? So you use the sentence starters, and then you write whatever the con on the other side thinks, okay? So that's going to be your counter argument paragraph where you write about what the other side thinks. So then you are going to, after you write your counter argument paragraph, so here's an example. Counter argument, what the other side thinks, because I like school uniforms, but the other side, they don't like school uniforms. So the other side thinks, some people think school uniforms are not good for students. Many people believe school uniforms restrict students' freedom of expression. In addition, it has been argued that, so this is all part of the sentence structure, it has been argued that, where is that? Oh, okay, well, somewhere around here. It has been argued that student uniforms promote uniformity. Also, it is true that school uniforms may lower a student's self-image. Moreover, it is suggested that focusing on school uniforms takes attention away from other educational issues. It is often thought that school uniforms impose an extra fee on parents when public school is supposed to be free. So this is what the other side thinks, why they don't like school uniforms. Then after you write your counter argument, where you write about the other side, then you're going to rebut, where you make your pivot and you state your point of view. So then you would say, however, nonetheless, contrary to the above opinion, contrary to what the other side thinks, school uniforms are actually good for students because school uniforms allow students to focus on education, not clothes. School uniforms saves the parents money in buying expensive clothes. School uniforms enhance school pride. And then you got all of these are all other ways of saying the truth of the matter is the author believes the contrary is true. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. In reality, although true to a certain extent, the other side has gotten it all wrong because the evidence states the contrary. It is easy to think that school uniforms are not good, but actually school uniforms are good for you. However, when you look at the facts, and then you will see that school uniforms enhance education. So you state your side. So it might be true that school uniforms promote uniformity. However, the truth lies in the credible facts this researcher has found in that school uniforms are good for students because. So basically you use all of these different sentence starters in order to pivot your way from what the other side thinks into what you think. And this strengthens your argumentative essay because you're able to rebut what the other side thinks. And so for the reader, this makes your argumentative essay look balanced and fair because you're talking about both sides of an issue. And so that fulfills the O section of something being objective. So when an article is objective, then that article is credible. So by adding a counter argument and rebuttal paragraph to your essay, you make your paper more credible and makes it part of kapow. So here you would use all of these sentence starters to pivot to the other side. The truth of the matter is school uniforms are good for students. Okay, this argument is wrong because. Okay, so basically you pivot to the other side. You would say the truth of the matter is school uniforms deter crime and increase student safety. School uniforms, and then or this argument is wrong because school uniforms keep students focused on their education, not their clothes. Despite this being true in theory, the reality is school uniforms improve attendance and discipline. So basically then, as you pivot, the evidence states the contrary. School uniforms make getting ready for school easier, which can improve punctuality. In addition, school uniforms can save parents money. So you get the idea that as I pivot, and this is my point of view, then this becomes my argument. Okay, so that's what you're going to do, is you're going to write a counter argument and a rebuttal paragraph for your and so you have to take a position, and then you look at the pros and cons in the procon.org, and then you put together the sentence starters. And what's a sentence starter? This is a sentence starter. All these things with bullets are all sentence starters. They're like transition words, and they connect the different sentences and thoughts in a paragraph together. And they also help for you to pivot from what the other side thinks into what you think. So that basically is what you're going to be doing for your week 5 forum. And then you're going to ask me, but where do I put these counter argument and rebuttal paragraphs? I will cover that in a separate lecture. So in this forum, don't worry about where you're going to put it in your essay. All you have to do is just take a position, then write your counter argument and rebuttal paragraphs. So you have to decide, are you for or against this topic? And then after that, then you write your counter argument and rebuttal paragraphs based on whether you're for or against the position. So if you have questions about the week 5 essay, week 5 forum, because it's really important you learn how to do, because that's like pivotal. It's really important that you learn how to do a counter argument and rebuttal paragraph, because that's essential for learning how to write your argumentative essay. So you take your position, you take your position, you write your thesis statement stating your position, then you write your counter argument paragraph and your rebuttal paragraph. That's it for week 5. Okay, that's it for your week 5 assignment. Then you're going to post to 2 students and comment on their rebuttal and then their counter argument, and maybe you can help them improve their paragraph structure. And that's it. Okay, that's it for week 5. And then in week 6, you're going to be evaluating argumentative techniques. So that's another, so you have 2 of them. You have 2 forums in week 5. One that's due Thursday, and now the one that's due Monday, okay, it's called Evaluating Argumentative Techniques Practice Forum. So you're going to choose any paragraph. So I just happened to choose the same thing as school uniforms. And then you're going to ascertain, is this argument credible or not credible? And how do we do that? Okay, so here I chose this random, I chose a paragraph. But then you're going to ask yourself, is this a believable paragraph or not? And so the main objective of the practice forum is to ascertain if that is a credible or not a credible paragraph. Then you're going to write, after you post your paragraph, then underneath you're going to do ethos, pathos, and logos. And you're going to say, well, ethos is the appeal to credibility. So therefore, credibility means, is it believable? Is it written by experts? Does it have statistics? And so here you look at this and you go, well, yes, it's credible because it's written by experts. Therefore, you would write ethos, check, it's got credibility. Pathos, does it appeal to emotion? And does the author do a good job of drawing us into the lecture, in getting us attached to the topic, and getting us to do a call to action, like we care about the topic? Check, because he uses a lot of statistics to back up what he says. So check, this also has an appeal to emotion. So basically you're going to write something like, this article is credible because, this article has pathos because. Okay, so this article is credible because an expert wrote it. That's what you're going to write. Then you're going to write, this article appeals to emotion because it draws us into the article and uses a lot of interesting hooks. And then you give examples, such as it says, 76% of students are eligible for free lunch. And so when we use statistics, that's how we draw the reader into the what you write. And it also makes it more credible because you're backing up your claim with research from other people. You're substantiating what you're saying. Then logos is appeal to logic. Does it have a thesis statement and supporting paragraphs? And yes, this is about school uniforms. This entire thing talks about nothing but school uniforms. Therefore, it has logos. It appeals to logic. It makes sense. And so then you would say this article is logical because it has one central idea. It talks about school uniforms. So you're going to look at any kind of, you are going to find the paragraph, then you are going to analyze if it's ethos, pathos, and logos, whether it is, and if the paragraph has all three appeals, in other words, the paragraph has ethos, check, pathos, check, logos, check. If it has all three of Aristotle's appeals, then that means that it is a credible article and that it is to be believed. That's it, okay? Now, when we go to week 6, we're going to talk about why arguments are not credible and why they're biased. So one of the things that you look at, and another way of looking at these articles is using kapow. So we're going to be looking at this random article using kapow and also using using ethos, pathos, and logos, and we're going to look at this paragraph and we're going to use kapow. So you would look at this, so both, okay? We're going to use ethos, pathos, logos, and we're going to use kapow. So kapow, C, yes, it's current. This paragraph was written within the last 10 years. A, author, yes, this article was written by an expert. P, purpose, no, this is not an ad, this is not a fallacy. This is an article written in a non-biased fashion, and the purpose is not to sell you a product. So it's not an ad, purpose. O, objective. It's objective because it talks about both sides of the issue and it doesn't have an agenda. So therefore, O, it's objective. W, writing style. It's professional and it's not some kind of clickbait. It's not an ad. And so when we compare the week 5 and the week 6, in week 6, you're going to on purpose choose a biased article, okay? So I'm going to go over that. So in this article, this is a credible article because it passes kapow and it passes ethos, pathos, logos. So the purpose of this, of your week 5 practice forum is to learn to recognize when something is credible, when something is to be believed, so that you can tell the difference between fact and fiction, and between propaganda and fake news, okay? Fake news is when something is written, somebody makes a claim, and they don't back up the claim. So if I were to say something like, oh, I'm from Mars, and there are people living on the other side of the moon, and that's where I come from. That's where all humans come from. Is we all come from the other side of the moon, okay? Whenever you make a claim, a ridiculous claim, and then you have no evidence to back that up, that is not a credible claim. And that becomes a fallacy because you just make it up off the top of your head. And therefore, that's biased because I truly believe, or if you cherry pick, like media bias, where you just talk about Trump being a bad president, or Biden, always a bad president, and you stick to only one side of an issue, that is biased. So in week 5, we're going to find non-biased, objective paragraphs, and then we're going to put it through the ringer to prove that they are logical. So in week 5, this one, we're trying to prove why something is logical and credible. So that's the practice. And then week 6, okay, I guess I have time for that. I didn't think I was going to have time for that. All right, so that's basically, that's it. So currency. This article has ethos because it is written by an educational expert source, Britannica Encyclopedia. Pathos. This article hooks the reader because it is not biased and expresses both sides of the issue. Logos. This article is logical because it has a thesis with supporting sentences and is written in a professional style. Currency. This article was written in 2023, so it is current. Author. This article was written by an expert source, Britannica Encyclopedia. Purpose. This is not an ad. It was written for educational purposes. Objectivity. This article is non-biased and talks about both sides of the issue. Writing style. The writing style is logical and has a thesis statement with supporting sentences. It also uses statistics to back up its claim. And this entire thing is what your post is going to look like. Okay? Then when you post to two other students, you're going to look at their paragraphs, and then you're going to kapow other people's paragraphs, or ethos, logos, and pathos, and make comments based on kapow, whether or not you're going to guess whether or not other people's articles are also biased or non-biased, and you're going to kapow two other people's articles. And if you post to two students, you get 5 out of 6 in engagement. And if you post to, I don't know, that's a different one. Okay, so anyway, that's what you're going to do for your week 5 practice forum. So week 5 has 2 forums, one due on Thursday where you write your counter argument and rebuttal paragraph, and then week 5 practice forum where you're going to do your this kapow thing, right? Okay, so you're going to judge whether or not, and you get to find whatever paragraph you want. Okay, so find some credible paragraph and then analyze it using ethos, pathos, logos, and using kapow. And then I think I have time to do next week's article. Then in the week 6 forum, you're going to post. So this is the week 6 forum. In the week 6 forum, you're going to post biased on purpose. You're going to post articles that have ridiculous claims. You're going to post ridiculous articles, and you're going to post articles that have bias. What is a biased article? Bias is defined as prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, group compared with another. And so a biased article is a one-sided article that talks about one side of an issue. Biased articles are not fair and balanced. Biased articles exaggerate or distort the truth, lack documentation, make strong assertions with lots of exclamation marks, stick to stereotypes and conspiracy theories. All TV stations are biased because they are either biased to the left or biased to the right. In other words, they're either for Biden or against Biden. Fox News is biased because they lean conservative, while CNN News is biased because they lean to the left. This is known as ideological bias. So common types of biased articles. These are the articles you want to avoid. These are the articles you don't believe. And this is why we're going to post it, to show everyone how stupid and ridiculous these articles really are. So the different kinds of biased articles are sponsored stories, clickbait, satire, advertisements, Fox News, CNN News, tabloid newspapers like National Enquirer, and so here you have The Onion so here are some examples of sponsored stories. You can actually post this. A sponsored story means that it's an ad. And so you can post any, and these ads you don't believe, okay? They're all biased because they want you to buy their product. That's how it makes it biased. You would say that this washer machine is the greatest in the world, buy my product. And then you never hear about the other side, about how the washer machine could break easily. All you hear about are just the good points. That's what makes all kinds of ads biased, and we don't believe in ads. So here in the week 6 forum, you can post any of these. Go get these dental implants. It's going to change your life. And they don't talk about how dental implants can also cause infections. Why would they do that? Then nobody's going to buy the product. Here you have, I have enough of my care. So any of these biased articles you're going to post to the week 6 forum, and then you're going to tell us why it's biased. You're going to tell us why it's ridiculous. You're going to tell us why it doesn't stick to kapow, and why all of these stick to pathos. I mean, there's no logos, there's no ethos. Okay, ethos means it's written by an expert. None of these are written by experts. None of these has logos. None of these makes any sense, because it's not professional writing. All of it is pure pathos. They're trying to just get your emotions going. So anytime when you're missing, you have to have all 3 appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos together in order to have credible source. But these articles only have pathos. When you are missing any of those appeals, it instantly becomes a biased article. It instantly becomes an article we do not want to believe. All of these are pathos. So you could talk about in what way all of these represent only pathos. So all of these are articles you do not, but you're going to post it to prove a point that these are the articles we avoid. Just like in week 5, those are the articles we want to believe because it passes ethos, pathos, and logos. Whereas all of these articles and all of these ads, okay, so we're going to actually be posting a lot of ads to week 5 and have a lot of week 6. So week 6 forum is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to make fun of all the ads, laugh at them, and say why we don't believe in ads. Why is this biased? Okay, so here these are, and these are known as clickbait articles, because anytime you click on it, somebody makes money off of you. So these people have an agenda, so why should you believe in them? So that's called a clickbait article. 17 facts you won't believe are true. 42 wrestlers you won't believe actually existed. Why BuzzFeed doesn't do clickbait, and so on. Learn the truth now. Dermatologists hate her. So anytime you have big pictures, exclamation marks, that's like that gives you a clear indication not to believe it. It's clickbait. Okay, it's BS. So I'm not gonna, and we don't use these articles for our papers. And then when you go to the grocery store and right next to the cashier, you're going to see all these tabloids, and they make it all up. King Charles disowns Harry. China sells government COVID recovery cash, or whatever. And so banned from Britain. So all of this we don't believe. So you can post a article from these tabloids and then tell in your post why we should not believe in this, why it's all pathos, and so that sort of thing. So this is fun, actually, So they exaggerate and distort the truth, Here's another one in Ivanka Trump. Her marriage is on the rocks. So if you make a claim, but you don't back it up with credible evidence, then instantly you have a fallacy of relevance. Okay, fallacy means an illogical argument. All of these are illogical arguments. All of these are fallacies because they don't back it up. You don't back it up with credible evidence. You don't back it up with Google Scholar. Okay, so this is what we're going to put in our week 6 forum. Okay. Oh, and then here you have Fox News saying, Biden is a hypocrite in chief. And that he always looks so dazed and senile. So there you have bias because they think that all Biden is he's such a bad president, okay? Look at that. See? You see him looking dazed? He doesn't even look professional, all right? And then you have on the other side CNN. Oh, Biden can do no wrong. He is perfect. He's the great president in chief. Look how professional he looks. You either have him looking dazed, like, or I'm professional. He's vindicated. He has built his Biden and his team feeling vindicated by a 2022 turnaround. They are successful, kind of like a king that marches in one of those parades, showing off their military. You see, so you have. So that's called cherry picking fallacy, where you cherry pick the facts that fit your narrative. So we don't believe in any of that. We don't believe in Fox, and we don't believe in CNN because everything is cherry picking and too one-sided, okay? Whereas this one, all sides. Notice how they'll talk about allsides.com talks about both the left and the right, and then everything is neutral. He doesn't look like he's dazed, yet he doesn't look ultra presidential either. And they mention about Biden's son and all his wrongdoings, whereas CNN will never talk about his wrongdoings, okay? They always talk about how great he is, while Fox News just talks about how dazed and senile he is. And here, all sides neutral. You want to believe in what's neutral. So for the week 5 forum, you could take any of these articles from allsides.com and find, because in week 5, we want to find things that are credible and factual. And then in week 6, we're putting in things that are biased. Okay, so week 5 and 6, the week 5 practice forum and the week 6 forum are exact opposites. Okay, so it's week 6, you'll have a lot of fun putting in. So this is, so then in conclusion, we do not use biased articles in our research papers. We use only credible, biased sources. And we always can tell if a source is reliable because we use Kapow, and we don't find, and we can find reliable sources in peer-reviewed articles, Google Scholar, any article from the library. Unreliable sources are Wikipedia, blogs, clickbait, advertisement, or tabloid newspapers, like anything we're going to post in the week 6 forum. Now, as we get to the week 6 argumentative part 1 essay, and so what we're going to do is, for your argumentative essay, you're going to write an entire essay with the introduction, body paragraphs, and in conclusion, and then you're going to include your counter argument paragraph as well as your rebuttal paragraph inside your introduction, body, and conclusion. So this week I'm only going to teach you the block method. I will not teach you so much the alternate method. I'll let you read it through. But for now, I'm just going to teach you the block method. And then I will go over the alternate method in another video, because it goes too much. So in the block method, you write your introduction, your hook, your 5 background sentences, and then you write your thesis statement. So you have your topic, your opinion, reason 1, reason 2. This is all review from English 101. Then you're going to write, reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Paragraph 4 becomes reason 1. Paragraph 5 becomes reason 2. Paragraph 6 becomes reason 3. Then paragraph 2 will be your counter argument paragraph, and then paragraph 3 will be your rebuttal. So that whatever you wrote for your week 5 forum, all you do is stick whatever you wrote for your week 5 forum in paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. That's all I'm going to cover for this video. And in my next video, I will go over in a lot more detail the 2 ways in which you can write your argumentative essay. Okay? And I'll also go over the difference. If you want more on how to do this, you could go to my Professor H writing channel and look up the difference between persuasive and argumentative essay. That's the name of the video. And I do go over how to write this argumentative essay in a little more detail in that video. So if you want to know now, how do you do that? Okay, you could go right now, because I think I've already posted that. So that's it. I thought I was finished with this. And in week 7, we're going to talk about our personal, that's the last one, okay? You're going to talk about what biases do you have in your life. Personal bias refers to learned beliefs, opinions, or attitudes that people are unaware of and often reinforce stereotypes. These personal biases are unintentional, automatic, and inbuilt, leading to incorrect judgments. So people have a race and ethnicity bias. That means that you see an Asian person and think, oh, that Asian person is always a geek, and she's always good at math. And Hispanic learners, they're all English language learners and all speak only Spanish. All of this is known as race and ethnicity bias because you don't know the whole story. That's called the dangers of the single story, in which you only believe one side of a person. So remember your English 101 week 7 about dangers of a single story? Well, that goes back to race and ethnicity bias. Age bias means that when you look at an old person, you automatically think that old person is senile and can't do the job. So if you're a job recruiter and you'd see somebody with white hair, you're thinking, I'm not going to hire this person because she's old. Instead, I'm going to hire the person that's 25 and young. So therefore, ageism, that's age bias. Gender bias is, oh, I think I'm going to promote the man. I won't promote the woman because she's going to go off and have kids and then leave me hanging. So I'm going to promote the man over the woman. So that's gender bias. LGBTQ bias is assuming that lesbians can't relate to men. In other words, you think all lesbians are anti-men. So that's LGBTQ bias. Ability bias is prevalent throughout society. That means that, oh, you look at a young person and you think, oh, that's similar to age bias. Oh, you see someone in a wheelchair and you think, oh, she's disabled, she's in a wheelchair, she can't be very smart now, can she? That's known as ability bias. You don't even bother to get to know the person and you already form an opinion. That's basically what a bias is. And other types of bias, like beauty bias, like, oh, she's thin, therefore she's beautiful. She's fat, she's ugly. So that's beauty bias. Affinity bias. You only want to stick with people that have your own opinion. In other words, confirmation bias. Republicans only want to be with Republicans. Democrats only want to be with Democrats. So affinity bias means that you're unwilling to go out into the world and listen to other points of view because you're so narrow-minded that you just want to stick with your own clique. So that's affinity bias. Name bias means that if someone has a foreign-sounding name, like Takita or Yifang, you would think, oh, she's not really American, so we can't give her that security job or something like that. So that's name bias. But the person named John Smith with the Anglo name, we'll hire him because he's Anglo, therefore he's American. Whereas that person, so that's called name bias. When you're biased, you don't even know the person, okay? Weight bias has to do with being fat and thin. That's similar to beauty bias. So we're going to, in the week 7 forum, you're going to write about the different biases that you hold. All Americans have these biases, so you can't go around saying, well, I don't have any biases. If you're American and you belong to American society, these are the biases that most Americans share because these are the biases inherent in American society, such as preferring young people to old people, thinking that if you're in a wheelchair, they can't be productive, things like that. Everybody thinks like that. So you're going to come up with examples and be honest. And write what you're comfortable in sharing. And also you could write about, has anyone ever been biased against you? If you're fat, for instance, you would say, well, when I worked in an office and they put me in the back of the office because I'm fat, and they promoted this thin young woman and put her in the front of the office simply because she looks good, but I can do the work much better, etc., etc. In other words, any kind of bias. Or I went on a job interview and the minute they saw my age, I knew for a fact they weren't going to hire me and they're going to hire someone younger, and so on and so on and so on. So any kind of bias that you've encountered in your life or any bias that you have, okay, you can write about in the week 7 forum. How do we get rid of our biases? Okay, so the whole purpose of recognizing that we have a bias is we have to set aside time to understand our biases by taking a personal inventory of them. Mindfulness. Once you understand the biases you hold, be mindful that you're more likely to give in to them when you're under pressure or you make quick decisions. If you're feeling stressed, pause for a minute, collect yourself, take a few deep breaths. Learn to slow down. Begin before jumping to conclusions about others. Remind yourself of positive examples of people from their age group, class, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. This can include friends, colleagues, or public figures such as athletes or members of the clergy. Individualization. Remind yourself that all people have individual characteristics that are separate from others within their group. Focus on the things that you have in common. check your messaging. In other words, don't be prejudiced. Don't judge somebody you don't know. Get to know them first before you just look from afar and say, oh my goodness, that person's ugly, or that person's whatever it is, without getting to know that person. So bottom line is we need to get to know each other so that we judge each other from our hearts and not the color of our skin or how much we weigh. So this is so what Martin Luther King Jr. said, and also institutionalized fairness. In the workplace, learn to embrace and support diversity, which is designed to help organizations foster more equitable policies. And then this will be, I will go over your week 7, you're going to hand in your final draft of part 2, where you're going to put in your the block method, where you're going to write in your counter argument and rebuttal into your final draft. And it's just like what you did in English 101. I will give you a template to follow, and for the part 1, I will give you a template feedback on what you can fix. And then in the week 7 part 2, you simply put in whatever feedback or that you have to fix for your final draft. And then that's the end of, okay, and I've reached the end of this lecture, and that pretty much covers everything you're going to be doing in English 105. So if you have any questions about English 105, you can always email me.